I guess I'll lead us off with a prayer. If you'll bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I pray for the state of Georgia. I pray for the General Assembly. Lord, I pray for wisdom and guidance as we move through these final days of session. Lord, I pray for our troops, our men and women serving overseas in a conflict. Lord, I pray that you put a hedge of protection around them. I pray that all of them come home safely. And in your loving name I pray. Amen. First up, we've got the Department of Audits and Accounts.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right. Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Members of the committee. Good morning. Before beginning, I just want to acknowledge and thank the House for their support of the department in the budget that they recently passed out of their chamber. And we certainly appreciate the House's recognition of the importance of the work that we perform on behalf of the General Assembly and the citizens of Georgia. And we respectfully request and ask the Senate's support for both our request and the actions taken by the House. Our budget request today is not about expanding our mission. It's about protecting the quality and the credibility of the work that the General Assembly already relies upon. There are several forces, I think we talked about this earlier, several forces are converging on public auditing today. First, audit quality standards across the profession have increased significantly. These standards are not discretionary. They are required. They require more documentation, stronger evidence, deeper analysis, and enhanced quality management processes. Maintaining these standards is essential because audit quality is ultimately our license to operate. It is what allows the General Assembly and the public to have confidence in the work that we do and produce every day. Second, the work that itself is becoming more complex. Financial arrangements within government are increasingly sophisticated. Technology systems are more deeply embedded in operations, and expectations for transparency and oversight continue to grow. And then third, the labor market for professionals that we employ is increasingly competitive. These professionals are highly marketable in both the public and private sectors. And while we remain committed to responsible stewardship of taxpayer funds, sustained compensation gaps between the public and private markets creates real risks to recruitment, retention, and institutional knowledge. So our request addresses these pressures in a disciplined and measured way. We are investing in data analytics and AI tools to improve productivity and consistency, allowing our auditors to focus their time on the judgment-based risks that matter most. We are requesting a modest 2% salary adjustment, not to close the market, but simply to slow further erosion and preserve the expertise and experience necessary to maintain audit quality. And we are incorporating several critical IT subscription expenses into our baseline budget so that the technology supporting our operations remains reliable. The risk of not addressing these pressures is not immediate failure, but it will be a gradual erosion. High turnover, loss of expertise, and slower audit completion. This budget is designed to prevent the erosion and protect audit quality, legislative oversight, and Georgia's fiscal reputation. And before turning to the individual line items in the budget, I would like to recognize and thank the Governor and the General Assembly for the 2000 salary supplements that were included in the amended budget, FY26. Those adjustments were meaningful to our employees and are helping improve morale and retention in the department. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll go line by line and talk about those requests. So first is around workforce sustainability. The department is respectfully requesting $808,000 in additional personal services funds to support recruitment and retention efforts for critical staff. Those dollars are spread between and across all programs and can be found at line items 8.1, 9.1, and 11.1. Currently, entry-level auditor salaries remain about 16% below the Atlanta market average, and senior and manager positions lag the market by 18 to 32%. And at the same time, the number of accounting graduates entering the profession continues to decline, intensifying competition for talent. So this request is modest but necessary step to preserve the professional expertise required to maintain audit quality and independence in the department. The next two items are investments in audit technology. They impact only the audit and assurances program. The first item is located at line item 8.2 for about $464,000. This is to incorporate annual subscription costs into the baseline budget. These funds allow us to integrate our data analytics and artificial intelligence tools into our daily audit processes. These tools allow our auditors to improve audit efficiency, consistency, and analyze larger and actually total complete population data sets to improve risk detection and automate routine testing so we can and the auditors can focus on higher value professional judgments. The next item also in the audit and assurance area is for subscription costs related to upgrading our audit working paper system to an integrated cloud-based audit platform. This item appears on line 8.3 for about $248,000. This platform will strengthen compliance with professional standards, improve documentation and control, and increase productivity through automation. The next item and request relates to maintaining our core IT systems that support our operations. Members can find these adjustments across all programs in line items 8.4, 9.2, and 11.2, and those will total about $405,000. And this request also incorporates several critical IT subscriptions and recurring annual renewals into our baseline funding structure, so these essential systems remain reliable and secure. The final item that I want to bring to your attention is in item 8.8 within it's line item 8.8 in the audit and assurance program. This reflects the House's addition of about $1.7 million to the budget. This item relates to the department's responsibility for auditing public school systems. And in the amended FY26 budget, and as we discussed, the House included language, and the Senate concurred that directing the department to utilize existing resources and assume responsibility for public school system audits over a 3-year period, consistent with our statutory responsibilities. As I noted in our FY26 budget discussion, that direction reflects the legislature's intent in expanding the department's audit coverage of Georgia's public school systems. So that $1.7 million reflected in that item represents the first phase of that 3-year transition that was referenced, providing resources necessary to begin increasing the number of school system audits conducted by the department. And because expanding the coverage will require additional staff, a phased transition allows the department to gradually assume additional audits while maintaining audit quality and meeting professional standards over a period of time. The number of additional audits assumed each year will vary depending on size and complexity of the school district. The initial phase would focus on school systems presenting moderate to higher risk, consistent with current guidelines around like SB 68, consistent with the legislature's interest in strengthening oversight of public education funding. So we believe the phased approach allows and aligns with the direction provided in the amended 26 budget and supports the legislature's objective of expanding school system audit coverage. And all the other line items in the budget are the typical statewide adjustments that you see in the big budget, if you will, each year. So, with that, Mr. Chairman, that accounts for all the items in the budget, and we certainly appreciate the committee's consideration and be glad to take any questions.
Thank you. Going back to 8.1, the 688,000, assuming you came up with that number just based on the number of employees with the 2%?
Yes, that it's 2% across the salaries of the staff.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then on the staff, the additional auditor positions, is that the numbers here provided? Is that the base salary, or is that
we're talking about the 1.7?
Mm-hmm.
That includes salaries, loadings, so the typical loadings for benefits. It includes an estimate for equipment like computers and maybe some training costs. So it's fully loaded.
Okay. What is the base salary of those auditors?
It's a blend. We priced that out. We assumed a team, which is a senior and several staff auditors. So the salaries would be a blend of those. But I don't have those details with me, but I can get those to you.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. And then on the COVID-19 auditing, I know y'all had that responsibility. Is there any updates on that or current status?
No, sir. I think we're winding down the audits on the COVID expenditures. I think most of those expenditures need to be obligated by now, and so we're sort of winding down on that.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you.
Next up, we've got the State Accounting Office.
You ready?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Chairman Dixon, and no members of the committee. Again, my name is Geralda Hines, and I'm the State Accounting Officer. I'll bypass the statewide adjustments regarding insurance premiums and employee contribution rates and point you to page 7 of the tracking document, item 33.1, which is to increase funds to reflect an adjustment in ERP billings to reflect the projected cost of operating and maintaining a statewide financial and human capital management system of $3.5 million. As a reminder from the amended budget hearing, the State Accounting Office, in partnership with the Department of Administrative Services, is replacing our current 25-plus year ERP system, which houses our finance, HR, and procurement work and TeamWorks, with our new Georgia at Work system, which goes live July 1st of 2026. This system will support over 78,000 employees and over 200 agencies. And although the initial startup cost may be lower because the system is not yet full utilized, the cost is expected to increase quickly once all agencies are on board, which is the amount of $3.5 million. These costs are billed to other agencies and used to maintain and support our current ERP system, like the statewide adjustments. I fully support the governor's recommendations and the House support and request your additional support for this particular item and can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. When was the last time y'all changed the billing amount?
It's been about 2 years. We normally change it. It's a 2-year lag.
Okay.
And since we're moving to the new system, we're looking at our projected costs.
In the 2026, the amended budget, the statewide spread for the TeamWorks billing, was this not implemented into the cost model?
This new cost is implemented, that's why the additional cost is getting spread.
Okay,
Yes, the base
Thank you.
part, yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Got the State Board of Accountancy.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Paul Ziga, the Executive Director of the State Board of Accountancy. And as you'll note, toward the top of page 10 on, we don't really have anything other than the recommended items. Item 36.2 is 0 due to it should actually be a question mark because any costs associated in the timing of our data licensing, implementation, upgrade, and migration of data. The timing of that is undetermined at this point, so we're not really sure when the cost savings will kick in based on that timing. So that's why there's a 0 there. And any questions?
On your office relocation, how much of your cost increased from that, as far as rent or
Just
anything?
rent. We had to get a photocopier because we couldn't utilize the state accounting offices anymore. So it was basically anything that we were using. We had to get something for our office altogether.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That would be excused tardy. Next up, we got the State Ethics Commission.
On the tracking sheet, we're lines 37.1. Bottom page 10, top of page 11. Excuse me, 37.1, 2, and 3. Lines 37.1 and 2 just reflect the statewide adjustments for insurance premiums and billing rates, so I'll skip those. The lone substantive request we have, line 37.3, is an increase in just under $240,000. What this would fund is 2 new staff positions, 1 attorney and 1 trainer. These are related to Senate Bill 199 we passed last year with your help, which returned local, county, and municipal filers directly to the Ethics Commission. So we've already seen and we expect a significant influx in direct calls, training, education we're gonna have to do, direct referrals we're gonna have to sort through. So this would just help us be able to do that. Governor's office recommended that, House agreed, so we're asking you guys to help fund that.
Good deal. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any idea of y'all on additional filings? I'm sure.
We've always been in charge of the enforcement of issues. It's just the local direct filing responsibility will essentially be housed where your filings are now in the new system. The rollout has been very positive, so I'm hoping it'll be a smooth transition. But the reality is, the local filers haven't, many of them have not even filed electronically in 15 years. So I think it would be reasonable to expect some bumps along the way. But we are working pretty closely with GMA, ACCG, Gavrio to try and smooth out that transition as we get there. And that won't go into effect until January 1st of next year. So we've got a little bit of a runway.
And on the trainer position, will y'all utilize, like, will y'all do virtual training or y'all do all in person?
We'll do some virtual, but we've just found that these things tend to be more substantive when we're in person with them. And so we will be doing a good bit of travel with those two positions. And the attorney and trainer will both be primarily staffed for the local issues.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from?
Thank you for being here this morning. How many is on your staff now?
Right now, it's a little over 20, so relatively tight. Yeah.
And the amount of percentage of workload, how much has it increased?
You know, it's a little tough to say because this hasn't gone into effect yet. But I mean, what was the number? How many calls? Yeah, 10,000. We had 10,000 calls in January alone from locals. So it's significant. And those are calls that maybe it was a tenth of that before because they would historically go to their local filing clerk, their county, their city clerk. 90% of those issues get sorted out at a simple level there. And those are now coming directly to us.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further comments, questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Department of Administrative Services.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Rebecca Sullivan, and I'm honored to serve as the Commissioner of the Department of Administrative Services. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. The DOAS FY27 budget information is reflected in Section 12, which starts on page 11 of your tracking document. The first change is page 14. Section 42.1 redirects funds to reflect a shift of 15% of workers' comp insurance billings to the property insurance risk pool to align billing revenues with excess insurance costs and claim expenses. This change is a neutral impact to the state budget. We are not requesting an increase in overall billing, and we do support the governor's recommendations in this regard. The second change is in section 46.1 relating to the Georgia Tax Tribunal. This line eliminates the funding for the Georgia Tax Tribunal as it winds down and is replaced by the Georgia Tax Court as a judicial branch entity pursuant to House Bill 1267 in the 2024 session. All other changes reflected in the DOAS budget pertain to the usual statewide common changes. I'm happy to take any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? The shift from workers' compensation to property risk pool, how's that been? Good?
So yes, that shift will take place in 2027. The Workers' Comp Trust Fund is in good shape, and the governor is recommending that we shift some of those billings to property just so that we're better prepared to deal with the variable cost of that program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Department of Banking and Finance.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Bo Fears. I am the Commissioner of the Department of Banking and Finance. With the committee's permission, I will just address those items that are specific to the department, and two of the three are really items that were included in amended fiscal year 26 and carried forward. The first is on page 21, line 59.4. And it's to continue the increase for the employees, the MALPB examiners, and that's a merchant acquirer limited purpose bank. That is the innovative charter that we have. It's the only charter like it in the United States, and we have 3 entities that are chartered, and we have others that are in the pipeline. And so that we can continue that. It's a real area of economic development. In order to get this charter, you have to have a location in Georgia, and you have to have employees in Georgia. The second item that is a continuation from amended fiscal year 26 is line 58.5, which is increased funds for an AI solution. In the amended budget, we received funds to procure a solution, and this is to pay for the licensing items for fiscal year 27. The item that is unique is line 58.6, which is increased funding for rent. We are in the last year of our multi-year 10-year lease, and so we, through SPC, State Properties Commissioner, they retained a broker to negotiate new terms. The broker received a quote that was 30% below market rate. We were told that it is a fantastic deal, but it also is going to be an increase of over $80,000 from what we're paying FY26 moving forward for FY27. So our budget's pretty tight, and so that includes funding for the increase. So be happy to answer any questions, but I appreciate the consideration.
Thank you. Well, back on 59.4, what's your timeline on recruitment for those two positions?
So what we're waiting until we receive directions. We just received directions on amended 26, so we intend on posting no later than the end of this month for that.
Senator Anderson?
Thank you for being here today. Does any of your staff work from home?
Yes, some of our staff, but a number of our staff are examiners, and so as a result, they are going to be either at the bank or the credit union,
Right.
the licensed entity. So that is correct. So they're really typically if they're not in the office, they're on site conducting an examination.
So there again, how many staff is on your department?
Roughly 100.
And what percentage that you think is works from home?
I would say works remotely because I don't think a lot of them are going to be on site, right? So
Right.
not necessarily
Right.
at home. I would say this is going to be a guess, right? So it's going to depend on the week. I would say over the course of the year, our examiners, so let's kind of limit it to that, our examiners are probably in the office maybe 20% of the time.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Senator Davenport?
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for being here. Go over the rent increase again for me. I think I kind of missed something. You said it's going to be $80,000 increase? What?
Yes, ma'am, that's what it's going to be. So it's for the initial year. So right now, our current lease is expiring FY26. The broker through State Properties Commission has come in. So that was a 10-year lease. So now they're coming back with a so now the new proposal is a 5-year lease, and the initial increase is going to be in excess of $82,000. Carrying forward every year after that, there will be roughly a 2% increase. And you know, we think that in the budget, we can absorb that 2% increase, but the $80,000 increase would be significantly burdensome for us.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Next up, Commissioner of Insurance.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Dixon and members of the committee. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you before you all today. You know, I know you all have a very busy schedule, so I'll make sure that my remarks are to the point and give up any time so you all can ask any questions. We're jumping right into the budget. I want to highlight a few specific line items where there are changes. First, please let me direct your attention to page 27, lines 210.5 and 211.5. And I'll let y'all find that in page 27, 210.5 and 211.5. Going forward, our insurance product regulation and enforcement divisions will be self-sufficient with a recent increase in appointment fees. Appointment fees are paid by the companies when an agent is appointed to sell their products. These same reductions were made in fiscal year 2026 and the amended fiscal year 2026 for a total return of nearly $3 million to the state budget. Next up, line 212.2 and 215.3. 212.2 and 215.3 is increased funding related to the retirement system for our law enforcement employees, and that occurred as a statewide for a law enforcement officer. The reason for these two line items is because we have two separate law enforcement agencies in our agency. One is the Insurance Fraud Investigations Unit, and the other one is the Arson Investigators. As a former member of law enforcement myself, I thank you all so much for supporting these races so we can retain these key employees. These are the only type of employees that no other agency in the state does this level of specialization, and so that's what we need them, especially we're number 3 in the nation for insurance fraud, so I desperately need to have these capabilities so we can put a dent in that number. Lastly, please ask you to look at 214.3 related to the funding of the reinsurance program. Updated claims projections for the reinsurance program have shown the amount needed to fund the program will drop by $25 million for fiscal year 27. This is the same change that occurred in fiscal year 26. We're incredibly proud of the success of the reinsurance program, which put downwards pressure on rates. But when claims projections are down, we also want to be good stewards and return the money back to the state as soon as possible. This hits all the main adjustments to fiscal year 27, and I'm happy to go over any of the changes that are occurring to every state agency relating to the SHBP in Georgia at Work and so on. Outside of that, Mr. Chairman, I please ask you to maintain the current funding in all areas of our agency as we prepare to be all hands on deck for the World Cup, which our agency is going to be primarily focused on providing the safety inspections for all the facilities in and around the stadium, and because of large crowds of people are going to be coming. Our agency is primarily responsible to make sure that we have a safe elevators, escalators, boilers, and crowd control in support of the city of Atlanta and our other state agencies. And so with that, I'll open it up for any questions you or members of the committee might have.
I was just question back on the appointment fee change.
Yes.
Was $3 million? Was that the change?
Yes, we're
Okay.
returning $3 million back to the general fund.
Good deal. And then, what effect with the House's reduction on the state general funds on the reinsurance program?
You know, we knew it was coming. We've had great discussions not only with OPB but also with the budgeteers. My only concern, and it doesn't mean that you all have to react. I'll have to react to this. Is the uncertainty of the federal government and how many of those federal funds come to support that program. Because of the uncertainty in Washington, that's why I'm a little concerned. But we will figure out a way to make it. We've done it every year. The industry knows that we are subject to how much federal funds we get into that program, but I have no concerns right now on that. And I know that we ought to. You have other priorities. We don't want to we don't want to keep money that we don't have plans really using. Of course, Barbara and the Department of Labor wants to make sure that she gets a portion so she can fund her agency.
Now I know where it's going. No,
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
Senator Davenport, sorry.
Okay, thank you for being here, Commissioner. I guess I ask you about this every time, but do you have enough people to do these inspections? I'm really concerned about this because when we walk in these buildings downtown, especially these condominiums downtown, and the elevator's out, and then you go back in a few days, and it's still out.
It is not an issue of not having enough inspectors. The issue is the building owners not reaching out to our agency and making the appointment to get. A lot of these owners don't want us to inspect them. Now, when we respond to an incident, then we will cite them because of for not engaging. We have over 38,000 elevators just in the state of Georgia and growing every day. But and what we're doing is we're inspecting the rest of the state so we can then surge into the Atlanta area to make sure that all those facilities, because we know they're going to have higher usage because of the World Cup. And so we're working very closely with the city of Atlanta to identify those key points where we have to put in. So we've been doing this already for the last couple months, working very closely with the city of Atlanta because we know we're going to have a surge of activity. But so far, I don't have the data to come. I don't want to build a kingdom for a one-time event. But if that changes this year, when I come next year, I'll be asking for an increase. But we want to grow modestly instead of me coming and asking you for a ton of people. Because my biggest concern right now is that as soon as I train and hire people, they stay with us for 2 years and then they go to the, well, I can't compete against TKE and Otis because our salaries. So I'm working with the Technical College of Georgia to go and hire young folks that want to come and we will train them knowing that they're going to go to the private industry, and we're just working that cycle. So we're in good shape now, but if anything changes, I'll be the first one coming before you and asking for some relief.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Go ahead, Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for your report. I want to talk a little bit about Helene.
Yes, sir.
Have we still got claims out there?
Yes, sir, we do.
I mean, what my thought is, how many did we have altogether, and then how many do we still have out there?
Our losses for the state of Georgia were around $2 billion across the state, all the way from Valdosta all the way to your part of the state. And what the crisis that I had, and I had to go and have some real hard talks with insurance companies that they wanted to close claims because people were not initiating their repairs. And what happened is that because of the damage in South Carolina and North Carolina was more concentrated but greater, a lot of the contractors went to those states. Right. And so people did not have access to contractors, so they couldn't get good estimates to close those claims. And so what I'm doing is I'm conducting investigations now and going to these communities, going to Augusta, still going to Valdosta, going to Middle Georgia, to go and find those people who feel they have not been done right by and engaging in investigations. And I'm committed to holding these insurance companies. I'm not going to let insurance companies close out a claim because there was not a contractor available to conduct the work. We expect companies to fulfill their promise, and I'm going to hold their feet to the fire. So we still have some. They're not a lot. They're not, and these are large claims. For example, a farm where not only do I have a portion of the responsibility, but Tyler in the Department of Agriculture, who deals with the farm program, also has some claims. And so we're working through those. And a lot of it was we were waiting for this big announcement that occurred yesterday with the Department of Agriculture is now released that money that now we would be able to close those claims. But I'm keeping a very close eye on those open claims. And if a company is not doing the right thing or playing games, especially with using people who are not qualified to settle the claims, I'm going to sanction them because this is why people buy insurance, is for days like Helene where they need to be made whole. Right. So, and you all have been great at passing on when you hear from your constituents and you handle them. And I take a lot of pride in Bryce Rawson and our team of being able to jump right on complaints that you all send us. And so I thank you all. Please keep them coming, because you all many times are going to be the first point when people feel like that they've been done wrong by an insurance company. They're going to come to you a lot of times. And so I appreciate you all having the confidence still to send them our way.
Well, why I bring that up is, it's not near as many now, but it is a few still I call blue roofs out there.
Yes, sir.
That have not settled, or
A lot of it, sir, is because they haven't settled, and also they're in dispute on the amount of damages. And that is a crisis that we have across the nation, especially like, for example, roofs. A lot of companies will now, in the old days, they used to just get you a new roof, and people got used to that if they got a claim, they would just replace your roof. Insurance companies don't do that anymore. And now my crisis, and you all helping me address that, hopefully you'll help me address if you pass our department bills pretty soon. An insurance company's flying drones over neighborhoods and assessing that roofs have a risk, and they're going to non-renew you. And so you all supporting us and passing a bill where now consumers have specific rights that if an insurance company does not renew you or wants to cancel your insurance because of the condition of your roof using either a satellite photograph or a drone picture, the consumer has a right to correct the problem, and they have a right to see the image. And the image cannot be older than, I think, 6 months old, and they have to provide you proof of where they got that information to make that decision. And so it's a consumer rights issue that we're asking for you all to continue supporting. And so that's what one of the things that came out of Helene that I'm concerned about.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We're not done.
Sorry. I don't need to run for the hills here.
Well, they've made
You
it
don't
easy
get
for
to.
me because I just call on Senator Anderson.
And
Yes.
one of us will.
Sorry.
They both look at me.
That's right. Looking back at our hurricane responses, are there any areas that you see where we can improve? And hopefully there's.
You all given us some incredible authorities, especially for adjusters, public adjusters. We had an incredible problem with public adjusters coming in usually within hours of a storm. And of course, if you have a tree on top of your building, you'll sign any document that somebody throws in front of you with the promise that they're going to remove the tree and, sign this agreement and we'll deal with your insurance company. Well, we saw a ton of fraud in that. And this happened in Coweta County. That's the first time I was aware of that situation. When you all gave us the authority to regulate public adjusters, we were able to control. We had to put a couple people in jail. And so thank you all for giving us the authority to be able to police that. Now, the big challenge today is roofing. And the problem is that we have multiple agencies involved. You got the Attorney General's office, you got my office, and then I think you even have the Secretary of State's office dealing with fraudulent and licensing issues. And so I think that's going to be something that we're going to have to tackle, because poor innocent people who are confused with the complexity of filing claims, I think are being victimized. And we're going to have a close look at how we police that. Because our fraud rates are still entirely too high. We're number 3 in the nation. A lot of it is because we have multiple agencies, and I'm not asking to be the king of the hill on that, but we have to have a real conversation about how do we go after folks that are creating mayhem in our communities.
So what, Mr. Chairman, for me, what is the process like? How do people call and report it, and then you investigate it? How do you?
Actually, what we do a little bit of everything, but the most important thing we do is that we deploy to the
Okay.
crisis area within 24 hours. I coordinate very closely with not only GMA, but with the sheriff's office and police chiefs, and also and I'm increasing my staff to bring attorneys so we can assist local DA's office to prosecute these very complex and very technical kind of fraud cases. It's not fair for me to just go beat up on district attorneys for not prosecuting. I need to be part of the solution. And so what we're doing is we're bringing attorneys to go and deploy to the areas where we having, storm damage, to help district attorney's office really target prosecutions against a lot of these frauds. So we want to be part of the solution, not just complain about it.
So what is your staff like? I mean, how many folks do you have? Because the state of Georgia is very large.
Yes.
Not as large as Texas, but we're large.
We are very large, but what we do is that we don't have everybody based here in Atlanta. What we do is we have our law enforcement officers deployed across the state of Georgia. Our arson investigators, no fire chief has to wait more than 90 minutes to get a arson investigator with a canine to help support local fire departments. And so that's what we've done is we deployed. First of all, I don't have the room here at the Floyd building to house all my people, so it's a lot more efficient and a lot more cost effective to have them work, from the field. And then what we deploy, we pack up all our team members. We have a trailer and a small little command post that we deploy, and we'll go. And I also bring insurance companies. I force insurance companies to come and do claims villages at the area where at either the Home Depot, the Lowe's, or wherever people are gathering. And so we're bringing people to deploy to those areas and to make sure they start the claims process for the consumers. But then we deploy to a neighborhood that's been especially hit and give people pamphlets and instructions of what to be watching out for with our phone number. And so we stay in the area, but again, we also respond to referrals from you all, but also referrals from the local. He calls me a lot.
I don't have
the other Anderson calls me a lot. So
I don't have anything to refer, but okay.
but he does. But we deploy, and we also are constantly going to local law enforcement agencies and say, this is a capability is available, please take advantage.
So it's a partnership, not a contract.
It is a partnership.
Okay.
There's no way we can,
Okay.
I mean,
I get it.
it's got to be, if it's a contract, then there's going to be, I hate to say it, you get lawyers involved, they're going to complicate things. I'd rather just shake a hand of a sheriff or a county commissioner and says, we will be here with you 24 hours. As soon as GMA tells me that it's safe to deploy, we will be there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you all so much.
Senator Davenport.
Uh-oh.
Thank- We'll let you know when you leave. Don't get up.
I was ready to hit for the farm.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
This is my last question, and I'm gonna turn it loose after this. How many companies have you sanctioned? And I'm not saying you're taking up for insurance companies, but.
Oh, I don't mind taking on
but-
insurance companies. That's my job.
But I know the last time you told us that, if insurance companies were not doing right, that you were gonna come down hard on it. And I first brought this to your attention back when the, I said tornado went through Griffin. It was not my district.
Yep.
But I was down there taking some supplies, cause people needed some. And you told me a lot of that was fraud, people coming in,
Adjusters, public adjusters
Yes.
was my
So,
big problem.
Yeah, so actually, how many people have, these insurance companies have you sanctioned for not doing right?
I'll have to get you that exact number because every month there's somebody else added to the parade of offenders.
But you gonna come down hard, if they are not doing
We've
right
issued
by
more, let me tell you right now, we've issued over $42 million in fines to insurance companies just on mental health parity. Just on mental health parity. We've been able to recover over $100 million back to consumers' pockets as a result of our investigations. So when somebody calls and complains, hey, my insurance company did me wrong, we start an investigation and we allow the insurance company to make things right with the consumer because the consumer needs to be made whole, not that the state of Georgia doesn't need to get. I know you all got plenty of money for the general fund, but the consumer needs to be done right. And so $100 million just in that area. And then if they still do not do what then we do a market conduct examination, and then we will fine them, and that goes into the general fund.
Oh, okay.
And so
Okay.
it's a three levels of pain, and sooner or later they'll get that. That's why I'm asking you all for more authority, because right now I'm limited to $2,000 per incident on fines. And so I'm begging y'all, you got legislation coming over to the Senate,
Okay.
asking for authority to increase the fines to $10,000 per incident and $25,000 if they knowingly broke the rules.
Okay.
Because $2,000 that's crumbs falling off the table.
Okay.
And so I need to put some pain into them so they can understand that they have to act right.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah,
Thank you very
and-
much.
Yeah, I'll support that. I'm excited that bill's coming across. And,
Thank you.
and I've got two examples for you where he's helped out in my district. Good Landing Recovery, Trey Lewis, who's having, deals with addiction recovery and was having trouble with getting folks approved to come in
We're
and get
having
help.
some
And-
challenges, and I'm working with DFAC's commissioner because we have a crisis in group homes.
Yeah.
Because insurance companies don't want to provide that
But he is
coverage. And I've
praising-
talked to some of y'all individually.
And he's
so we're
praising
working
your
away.
name. Locally, he's praising your name. I know it's been a long
Well, thank you.
process, but you've been working with him for
Oh, yeah.
over a year.
And we work well, we will work with all our partners. I mean, you got Barbara that needs some of that money that I'm returning back to you.
And he will
It's
go
not-
after
it's not
insurance
cheap.
companies. I've seen it there, and then, recently Kaiser, you've sanctioned them.
Yes.
And Gwinnett, they've added a lot
We're
of
still
folks
not
there,
out of
so.
the woods on that one, but.
I know it takes a while.
But I appreciate you all being engaged, because it's not just now the insurance commissioner engaged in these companies. It's the legislature, it's local leaders, it's, they can't just isolate me into a corner and says, oh, this is not a real problem. No, when you all speak, and we're speaking in the same, there's no wiggle room for them.
Yeah.
And we need that clarity.
I do have one more, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's supposed to be a
Go
short
ahead, Senator Anderson.
presentation.
No, you can't, calm down. Oh, what a mercy. So, the senator from the 26th got in the well the other day and made mention of the fact that his health insurance company would not respond to his request for procedure, and the chairman of the committee reached out and they did not respond at all. Is that something that he needs to report to you?
Absolutely.
I told him to.
Absolutely.
And I just want to make sure that I told him the right
I
thing.
will tell you, there's a penalty if they don't respond to us in a
Okay.
timely basis.
Well,
That you
penalty
all passed
applied.
legislation.
Penalty
You know,
applies.
Folks, I am the consumer advocate for the state of Georgia. There's a reason why the insurance commissioner is elected, is to be the consumer advocate. And so if they don't respond to me in a timely basis, they get sanctioned.
I told him to do
That is my
I just want-
job.
I just want it on the record that that's what he's
Please,
supposed to be doing.
please,
All
I
right.
beg you,
Thank-
refer them to us, and we will get a response.
All right.
And also, get Bryce is great. I mean,
Bryce is
well,
fantastic.
I-
Don't tell him
reach out
that,
to
because
him,
he's
by
in the
God.
back and he's going to get a big head. but-
Bryce,
Yeah,
where are you, Bryce? Nice meeting you, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
No, I do encourage members to get to know him
No,
if you've got an
but-
issue.
But I want to be very clear, that is our job. That is our single
I
most
know,
important
I know,
job,
I
is to
know.
get responses. Now, I can't guarantee if there's somebody bought the wrong policy or then, we will still work through that
Sure.
to try to get that's why we've been able to recover over $100 million back to consumers' pockets, because of our investigators.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you all
Mr.
for that
Chairman.
investment in our agency.
Yeah, thank you for your work.
I think we're done. You may leave.
You sure?
Yes.
I would run before another question happens. Thank you.
Good luck, Barbara.
Tough act to follow. Department of Labor is up next.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I think Commissioner King has teed up things quite well, and I'm optimistic that we will all heed his guidance. I also know now to not stand up until you say stand up.
That's
So
right. Thank
I've been
you.
paying
Taking notes.
attention.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Taking
In the hot
notes.
seat until we're not. So, well, good morning again. Saw you just a few weeks back, and happy to be with you. So, Chairman Dixon, thank you for hosting us today, and members of the committee. I'm Labor Commissioner Barbara Rivera-Holmes. I'm joined today by my Chief of Staff, Jansen Head, and of course my executive leadership team, and we're honored and grateful for the opportunity to continue discussing funding recommended for the Georgia Department of Labor for fiscal year 2027. On behalf of our entire team, I thank you for your partnership and for the state funding that you have entrusted to our agency. This support allows us to deliver mission-critical services to the Georgians who need them most. That investment is powering the largest unemployment insurance modernization in state history, because government should meet the urgency of the people that it serves. As part of this agency-wide transformation, we are replacing a system from the 1980s with technology that will help Georgians faster, enhance fraud detection and prevention, and eliminate technical bottlenecks that have long impacted workers and employers alike. And migration to this new system will begin at the end of the year. In fall 2025, we rolled out a bold strategic plan focused on better customer experience, stronger talent and leadership, modern technology, and deeper partnerships statewide. As shared in detail at the previous subcommittee meeting, this work puts our vision into action every day. Expanding opportunity for Georgians in every zip code, protecting fairness and the integrity for Georgia workers and employers, and building a stronger workforce through programs including the Reemployment Services and Eligibility Assessment and Walking the Last Mile to Reentry. This morning, I will walk you through a brief overview of our agency services, the budget items for fiscal year 2027, and provide an update on the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund. When people think of the Georgia Department of Labor, they often think first of unemployment insurance. And while that is a critical part of our mission, it's only one piece of what we do. We serve individuals and employers at every stage through unemployment benefits, career centers located across the state, workforce reentry programs, and labor market data that informs decisions from the local level to the state level. As a member of Governor Kemp's Education and Workforce Strategy team, we're building Georgia into a top state for talent by connecting hardworking Georgians to higher wages, high-demand careers through programs like Georgia Match and the Career Navigator, and aligning education with the needs of the economy. Together, these services help connect people to opportunity, and they ensure Georgia remains a top state for talent and the #1 state for business. These efforts reflect GDOL's role as both a workforce agency and a partner in Georgia's economic success. To achieve the goals outlined in our new strategic plan, the budget provides targeted funding to support our employees and key initiatives, totaling $4 million for fiscal year 2027. Starting on page 32, section 32 of the Senate document for the subcommittee, there is a total reduction of $315,813 for statewide adjustments in fiscal year 2027. These adjustments account for statewide changes in telecommunications and infrastructure billings with the Georgia Technology Authority, Georgia at Work billings, and a lower employment contribution rate for the state health benefit plan with our administration and unemployment insurance programs. Line 227.4 reflects a reduction of $62,700 to remove funds previously allocated in the FY 2026 budget for one-time staff training, which was successfully implemented this past fall. Line 227.5 reflects funding of $640,000 for ongoing call center technology enhancements. This funding builds on one-time investments that were funded in amended year 2026 through the Technology Empowerment Fund. This continued funding is essential to modernize outdated call center technology that has contributed to a call abandonment rate exceeding 30%. The funding will enable GDOL to route calls correctly the first time, reduce wait times, use real-time performance metrics to identify and fix service gaps, and deliver faster, more reliable service while improving the overall user experience for Georgians and employers who depend on our services. The following recommendations provide funding for critical positions needed to support unemployment insurance programs and activities. Line 229.2 recommends an increase of $1,642,557 to fund 20 additional positions dedicated to the collection of unemployment insurance contributions. Understaffing costs Georgia millions. With only 36 collection agents, GDOL recovered just 11% of $288 million in delinquent employer payments, leaving major regions such as Metro Atlanta underserved. And we know that a strategic investment pays off. Adding 20 collection agents at a cost of $1.6 million is projected to generate $11.3 million in recovered payments, penalties, and interest, a direct infusion into the state treasury. And so the math is clear. Funding initial collection agents delivers a strong return on investment. It strengthens Georgia's fiscal health and ensures employers meet their obligations. In alignment with our agency's strategic plan, line 229.3 recommends funding of $998,071 to support 15 additional customer service representatives who will assist Georgians with inquiries related to UI claims, appeals, employer UI contributions, and other critical services. Our average call time is approximately 5.28%. And again, our current abandonment rate is more than 30%. We have currently 27 employees on the team, 14 of which are permanent. The recommended funding will enable GDOL to expand its permanent workforce, strengthening overall call center management and ensuring greater stability and responsiveness. In particular, the additional staff will provide critical support ahead of the UI Inspire system launch, which is expected to temporarily increase call volumes as customers adapt to the new platform. While user training is absolutely incorporated into the implementation timeline, we nonetheless expect a short-term surge in calls during this transition. These permanent positions will not only help manage the initial influx, but also enhance our long-term call center operations, reduce our abandonment rates, improve service delivery, and ensure Georgians receive reliable support well into the future. The need is urgent, the impact is statewide, and the solution is staffing. Lastly, line 229.4 recommends an increase of $1,100,583 to fund 12 additional financial auditor positions dedicated to conducting detailed audits of employer UI contribution records. Audit shortfalls weaken our enforcement. GDOL is below the federal 1% audit threshold, limiting our ability to detect fraud, identify worker misclassifications, and recover funds. These additional positions will allow us to meet federal standards, strengthen oversight, and safeguard wage and worker protections for hardworking Georgians. Our auditors drive measurable results through 4 key metrics. 1, the percentage of contributory employers audited. 2, the percentage of total wages adjusted. 3, the percentage of overall wages audited. And 4, average worker misclassifications identified per audit. Investing in auditors enhances compliance, increases collections, and safeguards the integrity of Georgia's unemployment insurance system. This funding represents not only a commitment to meeting federal requirements, but also a strategic investment in protecting state resources and the workers that power our economy. Now, I'll turn to GDOL capital items included in the fiscal year 2027 budget. For fiscal year 2027 budget, there is $7.6 million in capital funding for GDOL, including $6.7 million to address the agency's most pressing facilities need: the demolition, design, and construction of the downtown Atlanta Central Complex parking lot and warehouse building. This building is facing several structural issues due to long-term water damage. Concrete corrosion has compromised the parking deck used by Career Center customers and underlying warehouse structures. Water intrusion is now affecting the hallway between the warehouse and GDOL's data center, raising urgent concerns. And despite waterproofing efforts in 2020, 2010, 2023, and 2024, damage persists due to the building's complex design. Without intervention, continued water intrusion will further compromise the integrity of the warehouse and data center spaces, as well as the parking deck connected to the Atlanta Career Center. Once underway, the work will take an estimated 18 months to complete. Our facilities team has developed a plan to mitigate any disruption to the Atlanta Career Center operations during construction. An additional $940,000 in capital funding for major repairs and renovations provides half of the funding to address several projects across the state, including modernizing 2 20-year-old elevators at the central office complex to reduce frequent breakdowns, repaving the central office's basement parking lot to fix potholes, cracks, and damage from heavy traffic and water, modernizing HVAC control systems in our career centers so we can monitor them centrally and troubleshoot maintenance issues more quickly, replacing aging roofs at the Dublin and Rome career centers to address wear and tear, sealant failures, and flashing issues, and addressing water drainage and intrusion issues at the LaGrange and Cartersville career centers. While these investments are essential to preserving our work-ready infrastructure, it is equally critical to ensure the financial foundation of Georgia's unemployment insurance system remains strong. Over the last 20 years, the trust fund has become insolvent twice: during the Great Recession, which began in 2007, and the COVID-19 pandemic, which began in 2020. At the end of calendar year 2025, the trust fund balance stands at $1.99 billion, which is $1.5 billion below the U.S. Department of Labor's calculated solvency threshold of $3.5 billion. I'll note that the trust fund fluctuates monthly with an average 3-month ending balance of $2 billion. Multiple factors continue to impact solvency, and GDOL remains committed to working closely with the Governor's Office and the Georgia General Assembly to develop responsive and long-term solutions. These efforts will focus on strengthening the trust fund's stability, ensuring its capacity to support Georgia's workforce, and promoting a healthier unemployment insurance system for the future. In addition to safeguarding the trust fund's long-term solvency, GDOL continues to strengthen its fiscal stewardship through consistent revenue collections deposited with the state treasury. For fiscal year 2026, GDOL remitted $17,354,194 to the state treasury. This includes administrative assessments, penalties, and interest, an increase of $678,481 compared to the same period in fiscal year 2025. I thank you for your time and for the opportunity to be here today. Your partnership and your leadership are essential to keeping Georgia the #1 state for business and the best place to work and live. And I look forward to working with you throughout this legislative session to deliver real results for the people of Georgia. It is a new era at the Georgia Department of Labor, and we're proud to move forward with you. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for your presentation. As far as the call center technology enhancements, what's your timeline on that as far as implementation?
ASAP.
I like
We're ready. We're ready. We just need some funding to do it.
Okay, thank you. And as far as all the new positions, where will they be based? Will they be based in Atlanta, or do you have other?
You know, our team is across the state. We have about 800, a little bit under 800. About half of those are here in Atlanta at the headquarters and the Atlanta Career Center, and then the rest are our career centers throughout the state. So we envision this being, some could be housed here in Atlanta, but it could also be elsewhere around the state. You heard Commissioner King talked about having folks in the field. That allows us to expand the pool of talent that we can pull from and also reduce expenses.
Timeline ASAP?
ASAP. We need these folks ASAP. And we're ready. We have plans. We're ready to hit go with your support.
Thank you. Senator Halpern?
Morning.
Good morning.
A quick question from the kind of filing and from the employer standpoint of filing for DOL. I know that in the past there's been some understaffing, and that could lead to delays. And in the meantime, an employer can have missing paperwork but not find out about that for months, years because of staffing at the agency, but the interest and the penalties accrue. And just wondering kind of where your thoughts are on that issue, or if you have any concerns still about understaffing leading to the higher interest and penalties for employers.
Well, I'll say that understaffing is a significant challenge, as you've seen. It doesn't allow us to meet audit standards. It reduces our ability to detect misclassifications, which can lead to wage theft. It can lead to a lot of other issues. You've seen what it means for the state treasury as well. And so we absolutely need to have more folks on board to be able to deliver. With respect to your specific question, I'd really have to know which report it is. Some reports, for example, some of our wage reports, if an employer files a wage report with one invalid Social Security number, the system will reject that report. The employer will know, but the employer then has to file that report in a time period in order for the penalties and interest to not kick in. So it really depends on the specific. What we're focused on through our red tape task force is looking at our processes, our rules, our regulations that are right now within the authority of my office to be able to identify wins for Georgia workers and wins for Georgia employers. And so, reports and those sorts of items are absolutely on that list. There are other things that are, of course, within the authority of the General Assembly. So you've heard me say we're going to start from necessary, possible, and possible. We're looking first at within what we can control so that we can be more employer friendly and fair to both employers and workers.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Senator Anderson?
Thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Yes, sir.
On your call time, right now, what would you say people in the state of Georgia have to wait to be able to speak to someone? How long?
Our average call wait time is about 5 minutes and 28 seconds. Our call abandonment rate is 30%. And that includes people who have made a call, have been in the queue for a few minutes and have opted for the callback function you're probably familiar with. I don't want to wait on the phone, just call me back. And so if someone opts for that, it could be, they could get a call back a couple hours later, for example, and that contributes to that higher call abandonment rate. But our call wait time right now is 5 minutes and 28 seconds. But I will tell you, we have, our team gets 14,000 calls a week. into the call center. And we could certainly, with these enhancements, we could add to the team, which is critical. And I'm not a proponent of larger government, but this is a space where the department has, throughout the last few years, steadily been losing resources and workforce, and we have to build it back up so we can serve Georgians better. And then with the additional technology, better call routing. If you've been on a call and you have buttons to press, please send me here. But if the routing isn't clear and it sends you to the wrong person, that also contributes to the longer wait times. And so we want to get Georgians reliable service much faster. You've heard me say we want to work at the speed of business, right? We want to be a faster agency so that we can better serve Georgians.
Would the additional 15 employees, how much you think you would decrease that time week?
We expect to be able to decrease that time at a healthy clip with the additional call center staff. Again, we have 27 on the full team with 14,000 calls a week, but only 14 of those are full-time. The others are term limited. And so with the staff and with the additional investments in the call center technology, we're confident that we could start to see an improvement. After that, we'll better be able to evaluate what other resources we may need to reduce that further.
And my last question is, the buildings that you want to have be reconditioned, how old are they, and when was the last time they had any attention to them?
You know, we have 34 career centers across the state. Some are owned, some are bonded, some are leased. And we have a maintenance plan, as you would expect, for most of
the main one, the one right down the road.
Our sites at the Atlanta Career Center. Yeah. Well, as you heard, the Atlanta Career Center is tied to our headquarters building. And so we did it was 2013, I'm going to get the numbers wrong if I don't look at them. The 3 years we have been making investments to improve that infrastructure, but it's at a point where it's no longer viable and it is a security risk. And so we have been working with OPB. We did, if you will, a site tour with them to see really what we're looking at and what the challenges are. So it hasn't been for a lack of maintenance or investment. It's been due to the persistent issues with the building and its complex design. And so we did waterproofing efforts in 2010, 2023, and 2024. And so we've been working, as you can see, to mitigate these challenges, but we're at the point where it's no longer safe and no longer viable, and it's a better investment for the state to start over versus continue these efforts, which ultimately will lead to safety issues.
Do you know how old that building is?
Old. I can get you a specific date on that building, but most of our assets are not new.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Am I good? Is that the official?
You did a great job.
Okay, just
yes.
making sure. Thank you so much. Have a good day. And I want to note, my Chief of Staff, Jansen Head, will be around after the meeting should you have additional questions. I have another commitment, but it's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Department of Revenue. Good morning.
Is this the freshman?
Yes, this would be his first presentation, I believe.
The freshman.
That's right.
Welcome. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Dixon and members of the Government Operations Subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today regarding the Governor's recommendations and House changes for the fiscal year 2027 budget for the Department of Revenue. My name is David Burge, and as you've noted, I serve as the fairly new State Revenue Commissioner. I'm joined today by our Chief Financial Officer, Keisha Beavers, and Austin Gibbons, our Chief of Staff. The Department of Revenue plays an important role in the daily operations of state government through tax administration, motor vehicle services, and regulatory oversight. Our goal is to carry out those responsibilities efficiently while providing consistent and reliable service to the citizens of Georgia. We appreciate the committee's continued support of the department's operations and look forward to working with you to ensure we remain good stewards of state resources while meeting the needs placed on our agency. The Department of Revenue's budget section begins on page 35 of the Senate's fiscal year 2027 policy bill. The governor's recommendation and House changes in sections 42 include funding to address ongoing support and maintenance costs for our ITS and drive systems, increased postal costs associated with motor vehicle credential production and distribution, and the House addition of $1 million to address a projected shortfall in Forest Protection Act grant disbursements. Looking at page 36, line 302.3, the House has added $1 million for projected expenditures for the FLPA program. The department is currently facing a shortfall in disbursements for fiscal year 2026, and this addition is intended to address future shortfalls and prevent delays in distribution in fiscal year 2027. On page 39, line 306.5, the recommendation includes $213,815 for the Driver Record and Integrated Vehicles Enterprise System, or DRIVES, and on page 41, line 308.5, $225,128 for the Integrated Tax System, or ITS. These funds support the annual 3.5% support and maintenance increase under the FAST Enterprises contract and ensured continued system stability, security, and functionality to meet both legislative requirements and daily operational demands. On page 40, line 306.6, the recommendation includes $102,546 to address increased postage costs associated with the production and mailing of motor vehicle tags, decals, registration cards, and temporary operating permits. Georgia Correctional Industries has served as the department's primary supplier of these materials since 2015. Each year, GCI submits documentation requesting adjustments related to postage and the producer price index. For fiscal year 2027, the funding reflected in this item addresses postage cost only. This concludes my overview of the governor's recommendations for the Department of Revenue. We appreciate the committee's time and consideration and stand ready to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. You did a great job. All I want is your contact info. You can give that to me offline, though. No, you did a great job. Any comments or questions from committee? Man, you passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Uh-oh. Senator Anderson.
It's not about this, but it's about the former Department of Revenue Director. Is he a judge yet? Is he a judge yet?
Oh, the former one?
Yeah. When's he gonna get?
Former Commissioner O'Connell is still with us. He is, I think his title for the rest of the month is Special Assistant to the Commissioner. He's working on a few projects, but he becomes a judge on April 1, and we look forward to the rollout of the court.
Okay, you have to call him Your Honor then.
I do. He's made that quite clear.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we've got the Professional Engineers and Land Surveyors Board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Eric Lacefield. I'm the Executive Director for the Professional Engineers and Land Surveying Board, or PALS for short. I became Executive Director January 1st of this year. Prior to that, I was the board's Deputy Executive Director. The PALS Board became an independent state agency on May 9th of 2022. Since that time, there's certainly been some growing pains in our short 3.5 years of existence, but I'm proud to report that the board has gotten through those rough challenges and exceeded the expectations of our licensees in terms of how easy it is to transact business with us in our new online platform, how easy it is to talk to a real person when they call who understands their issues and can help resolve their problems quickly, and how quickly we're able to process renewals, applications for new licensees here in Georgia, as well as engineers and surveyors from out of state that apply to be licensed here in Georgia. Our budget can be found on line item 319.1, and I'm here this morning to request an increase of $545,000 over the budget amount in the governor's fiscal year 27 budget. A big reason for this request is primarily due to the success we've had, specifically with the volume of licensing complaints that are being filed. In the last 2 years before we gained our independence from the Secretary of State's office, the board received an average of 1.5 complaints per year. In our first 2 years after becoming independent, those numbers increased to an average of 40 complaints for each 2023 and 2024. Word has continued to spread that the board is actively investigating complaints rather than complaints going uninvestigated, as was the case for many years before. The board has also launched a new website that provides the public with an easier way to file complaints that went live April of 2025. As a result of these factors, the complaint caseload has increased by 151% in 2025 to 93 complaints received. We have every reason to expect those numbers will continue to rise and match those of states with similar licensing numbers to ours. Having only one single compliance inspector for the entire state of Georgia, with that number increasing, will again cause a backlog that will diminish the public trust we've started to build since becoming independent. So we are requesting an additional compliance inspector and a full-time attorney to assist with the volume of those complaints. The complaint process is part of the attorney's responsibility. Another part would be the Secretary of State's office has also turned over all legal operations to the PALS board, and they're no longer providing support for us. So in addition to the investigations, we'll want that attorney to handle the basic legal services for the board, rule proclamation process, and then operations. In addition to those positions, in November, we learned that the Secretary of State was going to start charging us approximately $120,000 per year for human resources and financial services support they provide the board. That $120,000 is not in our current fiscal year 26 budget, and the $120,000 is also not in our fiscal 27 budget request to OPB, since the budget was submitted in September before we knew anything about this assessment. Because these developments happened after that submission, we ask now that you consider those requests. We deeply appreciate the House for including the additional $413,083 reflected on line 319.2 of the Senate budget tracking sheet to fund the addition of the attorney and the investigator positions, as well as the $120,000 annual payment to SOS. We consider these funding items on 319 to be must-haves for operations, but we are also requesting funding for a want-to-have, and that's a communication specialist position to lead the board's efforts to expand external outreach efforts to increase the number of licensed engineers and surveyors in the state. Workforce is our industry's #1 challenge, and the board feels a responsibility to address it. We certainly understand that you can't fund everything at once and are grateful for the House for the additional funding they added in line 319.2 for our must-have positions. And if that's all we get, we'll be happy with that outcome. But I'd like to wrap up by just sharing one statistic that illustrates how dire the situation is. We have 1,085 active licensed surveyors in the entire state of Georgia at the end of 2025. Approximately 40% of those licensees have been licensed over 25 years and likely will retire in the next 5 to 10 years. Currently, at the rate we're licensing them, we're only netting about 10 surveyors per year, so we're barely keeping up with the attrition. The PELS board would like to play a role in addressing the shortfalls of surveyors and engineers, but we understand that the additional communication specialist position that would help us may have to wait for a later day. With that, I thank you for your time and attention, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
And then the current workload for the existing inspector, is it pretty heavier as far as
It's pretty heavy now, and like I said, that number's increasing. But the board has done a good job with our processes for complaints, and we've added that information to the website. And so since 2024, we've already issued 9 public consent orders for people that have violated the rules and laws of the state, and have issued several cease and desist orders, because another problem we're having are unlicensed people providing services. In addition, with AI now, we're running into a lot of unlicensed people providing AI-assisted plans and surveys, and so we expect the number of complaints to increase as technology increases.
And then, did I hear right, the request for the new attorney's role will be a dual role as far as what they had? Thank you.
Correct. That person will be part of the investigations process, as well as the legal services, our rule proclamation process, helping with cease and desist orders that we typically do in office, provide those legal services for the board.
Thank you. Senator Davenport.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here. How much do you all actually need? What is the total amount? Is that what the House put in, the 113? Or how much additional do you need, I guess?
The total ask is $545,000.
545.
Correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure, because we really need these land surveyors, certified land surveyors, and it takes so long to get a survey when you call, and the real estate agents really need to have these land surveyors there, and because people are just going out and doing things, so we need the certified ones. And so your total ask is 545. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for clarity, the 545, that would add an additional inspector. Is that correct?
The additional ask is for the communication specialist.
That's right, communication specialist.
Okay. Okay.
Senator Anderson.
Just to thank you for being here, but just to comment, and I want to echo what you said. I have 2 or 3 surveyors back home that expressed the same concern that, looks like people just don't want to be a surveyor no more. And I mean, it's hard to get, people to be surveyors. So because they expressed that concern to me that, when they leave, when they retire, that, it's really nobody out there to take that place, we would have a problem. So, I mean, my concern there is also that, And I don't know the answer, you know, how we could get some people more wanting to be surveyors, but, you know, it is a problem. It truly is. Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Last but not least, Department of Elections.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't really come prepared to speak. I heard about the meeting, and I've been in this position since June the 2nd as Executive Director of the State Election Board. And my concern, of course, is that as the budget FY27 left the House, there's about a 544 recommended cut, recommended cut, and those projections, as I understand it, were based on figures made back in, I guess, November, December. At that time, the SEB, the State Election Board, had no executive director for 4 months. They had one paralegal when I came, and they had 2 investigators. When I came on June the 2nd, the paralegal left, went to the Secretary of State's office. The day I came in is the day, so it was already arranged. And then, so I came into the office, I had 2 investigators, and that was it, and was instructed to help grow this agency by a 5-member state election board. I looked at the case log that the state election board had. They were somewhere in the area of 315 cases that needed to be voted that had not been taken up. I then began immediately looking to replace some employees that we needed to replace. And as of today, we now have 6 employees in the agency. That includes me. We have completely voted the entire backlog out, which is nothing short of a phenomenal feat, and I congratulate the board, because I have really, we've had a laser focus on getting the election complaints dealt with. In the state election board, the agency truly should function, and we do our best to try to function as nonpartisan. Our baseline of truth should be the election code, and all decisions should flow from that election code when the board makes decisions. Given the fact that as the budget left the House, and I've had the new hires that have come on, that would dramatically, I don't even know if we'd be able to finish out the year. I'd have to put a pencil to it. But I think it would somehow calculate to be around $700,000 or so. The budget as it passed the House was just over $800,000. So the same thing happened with the supplemental budget, exact same thing. And thanks to the Senate and the House conferees, but the Senate took the initiative to restore that to a $1.389 million budget through the end of June. So I'm here today to just say, you know, we have worked our backsides off clearing out this backlog for the state of Georgia. And if I have to go back to the agency and tell those employees, thank you for all your hard work. I know you didn't get paid for all the extra time that you did in some cases, but now the budget's going to almost be cut in half, 40%. I'm here to throw myself on the mercy seat on behalf of the agency and just say, if we're going to keep the heartbeat of freedom alive, and I say that because that's the way I personally view elections. It's the heartbeat of freedom. If you don't have free elections, then you don't have freedom, in my estimation. And we try very hard to operate from that basis in the agency and try to serve everybody. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have, but that's kind of why I'm here. I know I wasn't on the agenda, and I appreciate you letting me come in and say this, but I feel like it needs to be said on behalf of the agency.
And I may have missed it. Was there any explanation from the House on the cuts?
As it's listed in the budget, and it actually says it in the budget, that this is recommended on projections. So the governor's office, as I understand it, was projecting that we would have a surplus of, I'm not sure the exact number, maybe somebody on staff could, I want to say maybe around 600,000. At that time, I mean, they didn't have an executive director until I came on board in June. They went without an executive director for 4 months. There was no money being spent very much. There were no goals being set. There were cases being backlogged that weren't being dealt with, and the agency wasn't functioning, at a full level. And when I came on board, we increased our workload by over 3 times. We voted by the middle of January. From June to January, we dealt with over 427 cases. In the previous year, they did 117. There, in the past, has been a focus on rules, state election board rules, and I've tried to guide the board and steer the board. Let's do what our main job is, which is deal with these cases. We have to take up certain rules when the public come and they present them, but you don't have to approve them. You look at them, you hear them, and there's a fine line there. I served, I forgive me for telling you this, but I did an 18-year stint in the House, and so I know a little bit about the process, and I'm honestly just, my old seatmate over here, Senator Anderson, we're trying to do what's right. And $1.389 million budget was what was approved a year ago. That held steady in the supplemental that y'all restored it. And now I'm trying to make it hold steady in the, I'm not asking for more, I'm asking for the same.
Senator Davenport?
700,000, tell me exactly how much you need. I know you say you want to speak. The House cut it. I guess I don't see it here. Tell me how much.
Okay, 1.389 million is what we would like to see it restored to, which.
1.389, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Before I came on board, the State Election Board agency, through the funding of the legislature, purchased a tracking software. There was no tracking software in the state of Georgia. When an election complaint comes in, let's say somebody makes a complaint that a poll worker's doing something illegal, or somebody's campaigning within the certain distance that they're not supposed to be campaigning, the board has to take those complaints up and make decisions on them. They either send them a letter of reprimand, a letter of instruction, or they send them to the Attorney General's office. That $40,000 software, they don't have anybody to enter the data. So you bought a Cadillac, but you don't have anybody to drive the car. And so I've been taking...
So you're trying to get the 544 that was cut out?
Yes, ma'am, restored.
That is how much you're trying to get back?
It restored. And just so you know, as legislators, our lawyer for the agency is a lawyer from the AG's office. The same lawyer is the same lawyer for the Secretary of State. You have a state election board who investigates issues that come in from the Secretary of State, and they share the same lawyer. this is a horrible conflict of interest. You know, and it's hard for the state election board sometimes to get things done because, so anyway, I believe if we did it to the 1.389, we restored that, that would give me some money to at least pay for some legal counsel. I don't think we'd be able to hire a lawyer, but we would be able to get some legal counsel that is not necessarily with a shared lawyer. And I'm not being critical of the AG's office. You know, it's just a very difficult situation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. One question that I saw, y'all were looking to hire an executive, what was it? Executive Director of Budget Estimating?
That's probably when that was put together with the governor's recommendations, because they didn't have an executive director for 4 months.
Okay.
And they hired me
Yeah.
Back in June. And of course, I'm coming on in June trying to get the lay of the land. And one of the things that we desperately need is that data, I call it a data entry specialist, to drive that Cadillac software. I've been making our 2 investigators do that data entry at this point. But, you know, they can't continue to do that at the I'll lose them. They'll just wind up quitting. Nobody's going to keep, you know, just working their fingers to the bone without some sort of compensation.
Senator Anderson.
Just a comment. Just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for coming on in June. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a man that knows what he's talking about. So, I mean, I served with him. He knows what, like I say, he knows what he's talking about, and we need to help him any way we can. Thank you so much, buddy. Good to see you.
Thank you, Senator Anderson. You're very kind to say that. You know, the legislature taught me a lot, both what to learn and what not to learn. But I would hope when it comes to election, no matter what persuasion you come from, you want a fair, good election. And this is an election year. If you cut the state election board in an election year when they're going to be hearing more cases because you're going to have more complaints, then you're really striking at the heart of freedom in Georgia. Because if you believe the heart of freedom is true and fair elections, you're hamstringing it. And I just plead with you, please restore that if you can do that.
Senator Anderson.
Thank you. You know, this man is. Thank you for presenting to us your relationships in the House. Have they been working to make progress on any restoration of the funds?
Yes, we are working on that. I think some of this comes from the fact that there was no executive director for 4 months, so there wasn't any money being spent. You project your budget based on the money that's being spent out.
That's correct.
There were no, you know, I have a volunteer board, a 5-member volunteer board. They're not lawyers. They're not well, one is a lawyer, but they don't do this full time. And so they rely heavily upon that executive director to sort of drive the ship. And I'll be honest with you, and I'm not pleading for you to feel sorry for me, but I don't need this job. I really don't. I appreciate being in the position. I appreciate the pay that I receive. I do it because I love freedom. And I mean that from the heart. I love freedom. I'm still crazy enough to want to die for my freedom. And that's what drives me to do this. But, you know, if this is the thank you that we get for clearing out a backlog of 315 cases in 6 months, and it just makes you sort of scratch your head and say, wow, I think I'll just stay home with Max, my dog, and my 4 goats and and do something else. And it's not that I'm not threatening to quit or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm here because
We never threaten to quit, so we just keep working our fingers to the bones too.
in the
We do.
legislature I
For a
threaten
whole
it
lot of
every
money.
day. I know.
For a
I know.
whole lot of money, sir.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
next year, we're just gonna work on you, just telling us how you really feel.
That's why you came. We thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for coming. I appreciate your
thank y'all,
presentation.
and thank you for your kind treatment, and thank you for what you do. You don't ever hear that. Thank you, I know. And the harder you serve your constituents, the more work you create for yourself, because they will say, oh, call Chairman Dixon, he can get things done, or call Senator so-and-so. I understand where you're at, and I thank you. I mean that.
Thank you. We are adjourned.